Hello all and welcome to our pre-season team reveal series from the very best Fpl managers to ever play the game right here at fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. My name is Fergie and this time I'm fortunate enough to be joined by none other than record-breaking Fpl manager Rich Clarke. Rich, it's fantastic to have you on. How have you enjoyed your summer break? You look quite tanned. Have you been anywhere?
Hi Fergie, great to be on. I've been outside a lot during the summer, did quite a lot of walking and enjoying the weather that we had in June rather than the weather we had in July. But yeah, I've been outside a lot, bit of golf, bit of walking, and not so much sitting inside.
Superb. Okay, well we've now got your absolutely insane FPL record on screen for our watchers. So this guy, Rich Clarke, I mentioned record breaking. So Rich has played FPL now for 15 seasons. And as you can see, he has never finished outside the top 35k in everyone. Incredible and unrivaled record. Rich, in terms of your, thoughts for the upcoming season, obviously, your aim is to maintain this record and have a 16th straight incredible season. But what are your kind of, early strategic thoughts on how you're going to approach the new season? What are your dilemmas?
Well, first of all, I'm relieved that we're going back to what, in inverted commas could be called a normal season, with games happening concurrently rather than sequentially.
Sure.
It means that we can get back to Saturday afternoons with games going on at the same time, fans being back in stadiums, perhaps home advantage returning, and hopefully we'll get a more traditional football season and a traditional fantasy season. So I'm looking forward to that. It being a little bit less time constrained. We had a 38-week season wedged into about 28 weeks last season, and that was really hard, both to play and to contribute towards. So I think we will be blessed with a normal timing season, and I think I'm looking forward to those aspects. In terms of dilemmas, I think right at the moment, and we'll probably get into this, it's more around how does a fantasy manager differentiate himself from everybody else right now, because there seems to be a core of about 20 players that are going into the 15 that you finally select.
Well, I think it's a core of about 16 or 17, to be honest, with the team reveals we've seen so far. But, the template is template for a reason. But fortunately, Rich is going to show us a couple of drafts. So he's going to show us, you just want to explain, Rich, the drafts you're going to show us?
I think we've seen a lot of content in the last couple of weeks where a lot of people sharing their drafts, and anyone who's been looking across the platforms can see that there's a very much a template emerging. I thought this morning we wouldn't just trawl through another version of that template, and that I'd try and mix it up a little bit and show a Kane enabling team or an actual team with Kane in it, and the difference that makes, just so that members and viewers have got a slightly different perspective, and it may help the thinking.
Fantastic, Rex. Really, really appreciate it. For any new watchers, you are very, very welcome. If you haven't subscribed just yet, please press the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen and set alerts so you don't miss any of our team reveals, other videos, or live streams right here on this channel. Also, please press the like button if you enjoy our content. So, Rich, just before we get into your first team draft, we should let our watchers know that if you haven't already signed up to fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, there's currently a pre-season 25% discount link at the top of the description below. Members get unlimited access to all our tools, including Opta stats, comparison tools, points prediction tools, the Gameweek win team reveals, and the very best Fpl managers in the world, including Rich. So Rich will share his finalised Gameweek 1 team before the deadline for Hub members. Masses and masses of fantasy football and FPL content, basically everything you need to help you become a better fantasy football manager and to dominate your mini league. So Rich, you've been a Hub member for many, many years. How has the membership benefited you as an FPL manager?
Good question. I joined the Hub as a contributor, really, because I wanted to help other members to improve the way they play, help them get better at fantasy football, and also to use a lot of the resources and excellent content that my fellow contributors produce. I think for me, I've picked out 3 things that I really value. Quick shout out to one of our other contributors, Chris Tan, who writes an article called The Informed Captain Decision. This is a brilliant article that comes out every week and really just crunches the numbers, looks at all the fixtures, all the historical fixtures, all the predicted points, really just does the work for you in terms of determining the best captaincy choice you should make for that week. I find that invaluable, especially if I haven't got a lot of time and I can't crunch the numbers myself, is just go to Chris's article, scroll to the bottom and look at the table he puts there where he picks the most logical and statistically biased captain for that week, and you won't go far wrong, if you follow that analysis. It's a great article, and Chris does a lot of the work for you to determine who a very sensible captain choice should be. So thought I'd give a shout out there. The other things I like, I'm a big fan of the Hub fixture ticker, particularly the new one that's on the app. Love that. It's very easy to use. You can configure it and construct it to your own preferences, whether it's attack, defense. You can also bring in predicted points, etc., for each of the teams. So I really like the advances made with the ticker, and particularly at this time of the season where you haven't got a lot of live performance information from the teams themselves. Going on the ticker and fixtures is a very good way to set up your team for week 1. And finally, I use during the season a lot of the player comparison tools, particularly where you can get the spidery diagram that shows all the one player against another, and similarly the predicted points for certain positions when you're trying to stack up which player to get in for an upcoming run of fixtures. So I hope that's a good summary.
Fantastic, Rich, indeed. And all these tools are available to all members, unlimited access all season to members there. Okay, Rich, the time has come. Let's get up your first draft, which immediately strikes me Harry Kane up front in this draft. So do you just want to talk us through the dynamic of this squad?
Okay, yeah. So I think there's a lot of the situation is very fluid. It's Tuesday morning, we're recording this, and obviously Harry Kane's in the news a lot this week about not showing up to training. That situation will clearly be updated later today. Did he turn up again the second day? Now how's the club going to respond, etc. So this is going to be something that plays out over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Probably won't pay any attention to the start of the FPL season, and it will rumble on until probably approaching the end of the transfer window. But just chasing things forward 2 to 3 weeks, it's very likely that if he does force through a move to Manchester City or even Chelsea as candidate clubs you could go to, that pretty much 50% of the fantasy football community will want to move for Kane at 12.5 million. If he goes to a bigger club and a more likely to win the league club than Tottenham, he's going to be viewed as a very good value asset to have. You put him in that City team, he could score 35 goals in a season. So there will be a big shift of ownership towards Kane, and I just thought I would put a team together that puts him in from the start to show how you can still balance that around that, and what the squad will look like if you put Kane in the team from the beginning.
So there's no Bruno and no Trent. So this for me is where the issues I can understand with Bruno. Obviously you can fit in Salah, Bruno and Kane, but it just makes the rest of your squad not the best, does it? Because I can see even your bench, you've got the cheapest keeper, 4.5 striker, 4 million defender as well. But actually, the balance of the team, you've still got a really good team. I really like the Havertz pick. Gundogan and Diaz are interesting ones. So, what are your thoughts on those players?
Well, again, I think I heard on the Green Arrow you were talking about the fact that having players from the 2 best teams, arguably the European champions and the English champions, isn't a bad strategy as a long-term strategy. You get to game week 7 when the fixtures swing in favour of both those teams. Without a wild card, if you haven't got 2 or 3 players from the outset, you're going to be struggling to get strong quickly on Chelsea and City assets. So if you're going to go for a team with Kane in it and save yourself the transfer headache of getting him in, which will be 2 or 3 of your free transfers, if you've already got the City and Chelsea players in there, you're going to be a little bit like a hare of the tortoise situation. You'll suddenly be very, very strong coming into game week 5, 6, and 7, and you've already got most of the job done with Diaz, Gundogan, and Havertz potentially there, and can chop and change and build more Chelsea assets and more City assets around that. Kane, if he obviously becomes a City asset, gives you your 4th player right there. So that was the logic behind it. And also, Diaz is he's a season pick. He's not really a game week 1 pick. City made 19 clean sheets last season. He's the most nailed on defender. And he's the only player the only defender that I wanted that I didn't have for the whole of last season. So I can just right that wrong in one.
Yeah. If we think of the commentary that we've heard, around, Wolves fixtures turn in game week 4, Arsenal's fixtures turn in game week 4, this is all very well and good. But if you're already booking in transfers to maybe get in people like, maybe Jimenez, maybe Semedo, maybe, Smith Rowe, Saka, you're already booking in transfers to get these players in, where actually, it means then when Chelsea's fixtures turn in game week 6 or 7, you're basically booking in transfers for the first kind of 7-8 game weeks of the season. Whereas if you've already got that solid core of players there, like you say, players like Diaz, it's a prime example. Just leave him in all season, right? It means you don't have to spend a transfer to bring him in a few weeks. You can focus your transfers on constantly improving your team rather than firefighting and keep up with everyone else. So it's a really good point there, Rich. We're just going to bring up your other draft now. So this is obviously hasn't got Kane and does have Bruno and Trent in. It looks a bit more familiar in terms of the template. Diaz is still in there, interestingly enough. Do you just want to give us a quick commentary on this, Rich?
The other one's more of it is still pretty templatey, but it's really showing how you can get quite easily to Kane in, say, 2 moves later in August. Let's assume he's not available for game week 1, which a lot of people are saying. So the previous draft is not something I'm recommending for game week 1 necessarily. Yeah. It's just because, come to next Friday, if there's still no movement on Kane, it's a big risk to have 12.5 million, starting when you don't even know if he's going to be selected for that first game. So coming back to this is more of a Bruno is the fall guy type team, making sure that there's enough cash in the bank and enough value in the strikers. So Calvert-Lewin being potentially the player at 8 million, you can move off. You could move off Bruno down to a player. I think he's 12 million, right, Bruno? Not 12.5. So you could get your 4 million by moving to an 8 million player, or you say Grealish or even Havertz. If you had a 500,000 in the bank, you can basically do it in 2 moves. You can come off Bruno to a secondary premium midfielder, and then you've got the money to go from Calvert-Lewin to Kane. So that's the reason Calvert-Lewin's in there, because he's just that little bit more and makes that gap to Harry Kane a little bit slimmer.
Yeah, and as this story with Kane is evolving, it does look like, I wouldn't be surprised if Kane ends up at City, right? I'm not sure whether he'll play in game week 2 or 3, because you would guess that it would go right to the end of the transfer window, which is at the end of game week 3, kind of, in the international break. But if he does join, they're home to Norwich in game week 2. And also, I think they're home to Arsenal in game week 3 as well, which are 2 fixtures that Harry Kane is going to absolutely revel in, right? So I think the important message here, from both of us here, Rich, I think, is to make sure that you need to get away to get in Kane, because if he goes to City, he's going to just be an absolute. Well, obviously nothing is guaranteed, but you would guess he would just be an absolute monster. He'd be the captaincy choice in most weeks.
He might spoil the game.
He might spoil Chris's captaincy articles, mightn't he? Exactly. He'll just be Captain Kane. But exactly. I think it's a really good point about, if you're not going with Bruno, need to have a think about how you can get to Kane in a couple of moves. This is, and this is your point. If you think, right, I can cover him with Greenwood and Sancho and a couple of others, and you spread your funds, you've got Trent, you've got Robinson, you've got to actually get Kane in, then you're gonna probably have to take -8s, -12s, or maybe even wild card, which is a bit of a waste. Early on. So I think it's a really, really good point, really important point, which I think a lot of less engaged managers will miss, and then they will struggle to get Kane in, or they'll have to destroy their team to get him in. So
well, there's obviously a once if you come off Bruno, you've got you'll feel like you've got a lot of money in your pocket, and you'll want to spread that around the team because of the upgrades you can make elsewhere, and you suddenly can get the 7-8 million players. You can have 3 nice strikers, you can have a really strong defense. Wherever you choose to spend that money, it's tempting, right? You can keep it in the bank, but why would you? Because you want to get off to a fast start. So all of these logical biases come in, and you really think, if you think in 2 moves, maybe a 4-point hit's worth it to get Kane in, quickly for, say, a Norwich fixture, or an easy fixture where he could quite easily score 15 points. But it's not all about Harry Kane.
No,
2 years ago we were saying he never scores in August, right? So it does. We're used to this, but he is a key player that we've got to keep an eye on.
Superb. Thank you, Rich.
I just had a point to make about the goalkeepers, Fergie. I haven't gone for Sanchez in either of these teams. Who's another template choice. I think this draft here, I think that we've got up on screen, has got Dean Henderson in it, which I sent through yesterday. And then, of course, we learned last night he's suffering from COVID at the moment. So that's a bit of... I think that just illustrates the fact that over the next 2 weeks, there is still going to be news coming out about injuries, illnesses, transfers. Perhaps the Henderson development, it shows that actually going with a set and forget keeper still isn't that safe an option. And that actually you want to have a backup man in case COVID, because we've still got a lot of cases every day. If the goalkeeper of your set and forget goes down with COVID, you're without a goalkeeper for 2 to 3 weeks. So that's a very good point. That's a key point, that it still hasn't gone away, and that actually rotating keepers, or perhaps Son and Heir type keepers, where you have the 4 million backup from the same team, are now potentially a good choice. So that's put me thinking. But I was already thinking, do I want the Brighton goalkeeper for the first half of the season? I know he's 4.5, I know he's a value choice, etc., but he's Brighton, and for 0.5 million more, you had the Manchester United keeper there, or you've got the keeper of last season, Martinez, at 5.5 with 3 delicious home games. You could have 30 points on the board by the time we get to game week 4. So why not have him in? Why not have him in at the beginning? So those was a couple of other.
You're making me rethink my my goalkeeper strategy now, Rich. What is your top tip for FPL managers? For what is the best tip you can ever give as an FPL manager?
Well, I think a couple of other contributors have said it, and I would certainly preach about it. Would be patience. I would say impatience will kill you at fantasy football, and when we're at a new season and new bandwagons emerge and new players come through, it's very, very tempting to say, I want them now. I think you have to stick with the picks you've made and think about the work you put in and the reasons for choosing them, and not jump off them after 1 or 2 game weeks when they don't return. I would say give a player 4 to 6 weeks to return once you've brought him in, particularly. That doesn't mean don't make any transfers for the first 4 to 6 weeks. It just means give your guys a chance, and don't write them off, because the worst thing about getting rid of a good player is the week after you get rid of him, he hauls. And that is worse than not having.
And he's hauled because he was a good pick, which is why you picked him in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah. So I know it's repeating what other guys have said.
No, it's really good advice, and the fact that you guys are the best managers around, right? Your records speak for themselves. You're all given the same advice. Play reasonably safe early doors and be patient. It's it kind of resonates with me, and it's really hitting home with me on my strategy for the start of the season as well. There's no point. Last season I didn't go with Salah in game week 1, and oh my goodness, I was playing catch up all season. Whereas just play it safe, keep yourself in the mix. It's like a marathon, a couple of guys have said, the general said last week, he treats FPL like a marathon. You're not going to dash off for the first mile, because you've got a load of sharks who are just waiting and waiting and waiting, and they will, their kind of stamina and patience in terms of striking at the right time will kill you by the time you get to game week 38, and they will overtake you easily and be,
consumed by the peloton.
Exactly. Oh, I like that, mate. Consumed by the peloton. Brilliant. Okay. So, thank you so much, Rich, for joining us. As usual, fantastic. Really, really insightful. You can catch Rich's finalised team. We do have the link below for all the Game Week 1 team reveals for everyone we're having on here on these videos at fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. Rich, just before we go, so you run the Ultra service for the hub. You just want to give us a quick line on what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a membership tier that's available for hub members, where actually myself and some of the other great team reveal producers, the likes of Heisenberg, FPL Matthew, Abdul, FPL Salah, etc. We've all teamed up to help coach the community, help coach the membership, and we will take a detailed look at your team, a detailed look at your squad, and give you a written assessment of what we think. It can be done before the season starts, or at periods during the season at which you request the review from us, and we will give you strategic advice on how to play the season from that point on, including looking at your mini league positions, beating your rivals, how to play your chips, how to improve overall generically, etc. So it's really a very sort of detailed coaching service that we offer for members if they want to actually consult with us and work with us on their team.
Brilliant, mate. I might be tapping you up on that before the season starts. So if you like what you watched there, please press the like button, and remember to subscribe to the channel at the bottom right hand corner of the screen if you haven't already. Our handles on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok are at FFH_HQ. Drop Rich a follow at Rich Clarke FPL. Drop myself a follow at FFH_Fergie. Our website is fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, where you will find everything you need for fantasy football all under one roof, including player comparison tools, the fixture ticker, Opta stats, top player team reveals, points predictions tools, and much, much more to join the tens of thousands of other fantasy managers and sign up to the hub. Choose all our amazing resources. Just click the top link in the description below. You will not regret it, we promise. We'll be back soon with another team reveal from another great manager. Goodbye for now.